I've had people say, that song's crap that you've recommended. I'm like, but that's why we're human beings. Every single day I do something creative.
You're very honest on social media, and to me and to lots of people.
Social media's meant to be social. People haven't complained, it's just, I know I've lost quite a few fans, so now it's time to stop being so stubborn. You know what I mean?
Hello everybody, welcome along. I'm James Sirrey and I'm down here today at Eagleworks Studio with my good pal Benji, Yarni. This is his very own studio where he mixes and makes all of his musical creations, and we're here to talk about a particular upcoming album of his, Anemoia, which will be coming out later in 2025, on the back of around about 6 or so singles, which will be coming before that. I listened to it the other day, which he kindly sent me the pre-release for, and I think just my overall opinion on it, it's just incredibly fresh sounding. The production is your usual immaculate, densely packed style of all sorts of textures, and very groovy. I found it hard to sit still for a lot of it, which I suppose is the aim with a lot of this.
Absolutely.
And yeah, there's a lot more vocals this time around, but the variety of the tracks, it's just really, really impressive. So yeah, very excited for it to be released into the world. I suppose a good place to start is, which people might not know, is that you've been doing the project Yarni for about 10 or so years now, and I just wondered how that might have influenced this record and if that has any tie-in at all.
Basically, the last album I released, I was trying too hard to just do whatever I want to do because I thought I was being pigeonholed. And now I've realised that were a bit short-sighted of me. So what I've done is gone, let's bring this 10 years of experience together and start again, give myself a bit of a reset. So yeah, there is a lot of vocals on there because some feedback from the previous album was there wasn't enough vocals. So listening to what people want is strange way to do it, really, because normally bands or artists just do whatever they want, but which I did, and it didn't work out. So this time round I've gone, I'm all ears, give me some feedback, and that's where we're at with Animoia.
I like that because you do encourage people to give input, and I think you quite like the serendipity that can bring. I know it can lead you into all sorts of different avenues and ways of being, and do you quite enjoy embracing that approach to things?
I'm doing a remix at the minute, and somebody gave me a loose spec, and I love that because I'm so eclectic, I don't just do one sound. Someone says to me, make it dubby, then I know exactly what to do. It's going to send me down a bit of a rabbit hole where I'll explore that and what's dubby in my world, and yeah.
So obviously there's positives, and then would you say there are any negative lessons that you might have had to encounter with producing?
I was speaking to someone from Love Will Save the Day, Dean Fielding, just yesterday, who gave me a bit of feedback a while ago, and he said, you ought to set up an alias for your electronic stuff. And I didn't listen to him because I thought that's too much work to set up a second artist account, but I'm actually going to do that now because I think Yarni, I'm starting to actually realise what it is. It's not me. It hasn't been just me for a long time. And it's time to section off the electronic stuff, which is the problem. So basically, to answer your question, yes, having a lack of direction can mean you alienate people or fans.
So it's almost like clearly identifying yourself in certain ways.
Yeah.
You've learnt that.
People haven't complained. It's just, I know I've lost quite a few listeners, fans, because they liked that sound and they didn't understand that. So now it's time to go back, improve things, and stop being so stubborn. You know what I mean?
So, going back more specifically into the upcoming release, Anemoia, I had the privilege of coming here, I think it was probably about a year or two ago, to listen to the first drafts.
That were actually the other studio.
That was in your other studio?
You would have heard those over 2 years ago.
Yes, and there's a whole separate story about that, which we'll probably talk about. There's a lot to get into with that one, but we'll talk about that at a different time.
Yeah.
I listened to those initial drafts, and I remember hearing the sparks of these little embers, you can call it, thinking there's so much potential, but it's astounding how much you've flipped these little embers into fully blown tracks. I mean, people might not know how much time you spend here working away.
I don't think I do anymore.
And I think it's really impressive how much time you put into all this, and yeah, I mean, how long have you been working on these things for, and how's it been? How have you found them?
Well, yeah, to be fair, I've got a lot to thank you for with that, because there's a notepad just down there with all of the feedback that you gave me from those initial demos, which probably 75% of what you gave me ended up sculpting the direction, because I had a lot of instrumental tracks. You were like, you should get a rapper on that one, or that should be a soulful so-and-so. And it basically, like, again, like I say, people give me that little bit of feedback, and it's like, right, I've got something to dial in with. So I've worked with so many different people with this one. Obviously, there's a lot of personalities and people to deal with, but I think that's been good, because I've not steamed into stuff. I've kind of gone, take a step back, get some feedback halfway through. Normally it's like, right, album time, right, get it finished, get it out there. Whereas this, it's been like, and a lot of stressful things to deal with at the same time that kind of like
life,
yeah.
around that. I think it shows obviously this time around, and I don't know if that's specifically because of the 10-year thing of your music, but you've really taken your time with this and you've wanted to build it, particularly with the collaborations. I think there's just such a rich tapestry of instruments, different kinds of jazzy sounds, Balearic influences, a bit of disco in there. I think it really shows your influences. I really like the use of different vocalists, and particularly the collaboration with Franz Von. I thought was wicked. That's my favourite track so far, but I imagine that it'll probably change a lot. It's that kind of album. How did working with Franz come about? That's really cool.
So yeah, the old studio that you came to visit me in, he was upstairs with Quake, who, when I had my Pina album out, he approached me just like, we're just thanking me for such a good record, and I was like taken aback, because I just exist in my own little world, as you can see, and I'm not really part of much of a Sheffield scene, so I always get a bit taken aback when people are like, I've heard your album, like, have you? How? And it just, that naturally just gave birth to, well, we should do something together. And fast forward, I had to move studio last year, then finally I'd got a demo based on your feedback that said that should have a rapper on it. And I thought, well, the beauty of not being in a band is you can just pluck people to work with. So that's the great thing about being a solo artist. You develop all these contacts, then you can draw from, like, oh, I need someone to sing a chorus. Oh, let me ring so-and-so. You know, that's the beauty of this kind of way of working.
Before we were filming this, I was likening this record a lot to your very critically acclaimed album, Pina, which is how I actually discovered your music.
Yep.
And I wouldn't say that this is like a Pina Mark II, but the aesthetic and that the warmth, the variety of it, the jazziness kind of links to it. But I find it very interesting to discover that Pina actually was pretty much studio trickery from your side, wasn't it? Like you infused all these sounds, and this time around, it's interesting that you want to create a band and go touring with this and try and push that out. Is that just something that you really feel like you've got a drive to do now?
The Pina album was an imaginary band. There was 8 or 9 different musicians and singers, and I knew when we released it that it would be best represented as a band, but I wasn't in that position. Now I've had chance to reflect on it, and I've written something where there's some singers that are dotted all over the world, so I can't make that work. But I've found people to work with locally in Sheffield, and I am basically I just need Yarni, whatever Yarni is now, needs to be presented like a live band to fully realise its potential. So that's what this is. This year's about looking backwards to look forwards.
Yeah.
And take a bit of a risk, get a band together. I found some amazing people that are on board, and we're working on getting it polished, and a few gigs at the back end of the year to around the album time to promote the release and present it.
Maybe a tour. Would you hope? I'd love to see that.
I would, yeah. Obviously, what I need to do is just get those. The thing with me is I've only done 10 gigs as Yarni because I've selected them, and every gig I've done, I've analysed. It's boring because when I was younger, I used to just do a gig and you just crack on. Now it's what works, what doesn't work. So, like with this, what I need to do is do a few trial gigs, iron out any potential issues, see what's working, and then like tweak that, and then at that point, then I'll hopefully have something that's generates a bit of interest.
There's lots of different vocalists and influencers. I mean, are there some people from very far away that you had to employ this time? I know you mentioned some like global collaborations.
Yeah, well, so long-term collaborator, a bassist is Ali McMahon. He's in Australia. He's from England originally. Unfortunately, I can't get him to come and play because he's absolutely incredible. And talking about the track with Franz wrote to an instrumental of mine. He wrote a chorus, but it felt like a bridge. So at that point, I said to Franz, I might know somebody who could sing as a chorus, might write as a chorus from my Pina album, a guy called Jeff Darko. And he came up with the goods, and he brought it all together. And that's the great thing, like I say, it's working with all these different people. Because I think, honestly, I was trying to add it up, I think I've worked with 40 people.
On this record?
No, just overall. This album's got 10.
Yeah.
But Jeff's a nomad. Last time I spoke to him, we were in Japan. Previous time I spoke to him, we were in Nottingham. So it's that's what I'm saying. There's a challenge. The fun is creating stuff and working with all these different people. The challenge is then trying to bring it together as one to present it. Obviously, you've got all these different people with different agendas. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's part of the fun, I think.
But it does sound like a bit like a family affair on this record, and I think it's nice that an album has that kind of creates almost like a mini micro community, doesn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah.
So I think that'd be really cool to see that pushed and going on the road. I think a lot of people would be definitely excited to see that. And so, and the instruments in this case weren't studio trickery. It was people sending in their various snippets of instruments, and then you tying it all together here, mixing it.
I've played most of it, and then there's certain elements where I go, for instance, bass. I can play a decent bass line, but nowhere near to levels. Let me get my mate Ali to do that. But then there's other bits where it's like, I'll play the drums like that. They're not quite perfect. I know somebody else could do it better than me, but it's still me. So it's like finding that like little blend of stuff. So yeah. So the band that I've assembled haven't actually played on this album. It's funny really. It's all me, or I've used a website even to source a string quartet, like a website called Fiverr. I wrote some parts and then they recorded it remotely. So it's just embracing everything and not just shutting stuff off.
It's almost like the infinite sort of capabilities that you can have from this. Also, in your case, over the years, have kind of made you feel a bit, not frustrated at yourself. You've wanted to kind of hone in on something a bit more. And it feels like this time around you're kind of using all this wealth of contacts and sounds to like really narrow into something that feels cohesive to you and kind of good to you. And I can sense that because I know that you're very honest on social media and to me and to lots of people about your frustrations with certain past projects and how they might not have landed, and it's very refreshing and insightful to a lot of people to see that, because I don't think that social media people always are that honest on there.
From the earliest days of whatever Yarni is, I always set about to have a tone of voice. And when I say that, I don't mean what's your tone of voice. I mean like a brand tone. You know, like you see Innocence movies and the packaging's quite tongue-in-cheek about stuff. I saw stuff like that and I thought, there's no point me pretending to be a superstar or this or that. I've got my personality, and when I started filming myself, it's uncomfortable. But then what I realised was, just play to your strengths. And a lot of people say to me, "You're honest, affable, and it's nice because I'm being myself and it's coming across." So, and that's only come about in the last 18 months where I've had to start filming video content, and I just thought,
do you enjoy doing that? Do you like it?
I enjoy when people converse back in terms of, like I've been posting all these record recommendations. The great thing is when people say, I've never heard that one, I've just been and bought a copy, or, oh, if you like that, have you heard this? And then it opens conversation because social media's meant to be social.
Of course.
We're just, it's difficult as an artist who's not regularly gigging and speaking to humans in 3D or 4D.
Yeah.
It is nice when you do get that interaction, and I also like the criticism or people. Like I've had people say that song's crap, that you've recommended. I'm like, well, that's why we're human beings. That's it. I'm not here to please everybody, and you will criticise or you might critique this, but keep talking. I'm not bothered. And yeah, so this year and the album and the 10 years of Yarni, it's basically just, you've just got to take a step back and look at what you've done. With everything you do, take a step back. How am I coming across to others? What can I tweak? How can I play to my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What can I? You can work with them rather than try and defeat them. I know all my flaws, but rather than battle them, I've tried to amend some of them. They're just inherently inside me for whatever reason. So it's just a case of work with them. So yeah, all I ever do is say to like up and coming musicians, remember what the core message was in the first place. For me, every single day I do something creative, and that might not be writing a track, but it might be developing video editing skills. It's just one thing that's creative, and if you set about as a musician, just remember that is the goal. It wasn't to film something because you've got to do it. The art should come first. Everything else is just a byproduct.
Yeah, and I think your initial reason to start doing what you did should always be there.
Yeah,
and I think getting too caught up in looking at what other people might be doing, or why am I not playing there, or why am I doing things this way? It's so easy. I mean, for me as well, doing what I'm doing, you can so easily get caught into thinking that way, and you have to just get away from that quickly and create something or say something or just do something that has some kind of means of engagement and just makes you feel good as well.
Yeah.
And that's that. I think you quickly switch off from those thoughts, which particularly with social media, we can all go down that rabbit hole thinking. It's just like, it's inherent with it now. Why don't we talk about your time in Sheffield and your relationship with it? Because I know you've again been very vocal recently about your relationship with the scene, and
I got told off by Pipes. Shout out to Pipes. He commented and then he removed his comment actually and apologised back to me. I think that's the first time he's ever apologised to anyone.
Interesting.
Sorry, yeah.
But I think you were very honest though, and a lot of people liked that, and I liked it because I think you were just talking about what your relationship is with the scene of Sheffield.
Yeah.
Because it's a very, very vibrant scene. It's a very DIY scene. There's too many people to shout out who I know who are doing incredible stuff. And without them, Sheffield wouldn't be the city that it is. There wouldn't be things to go to. Because if
with yourself included, obviously, mate.
Thank you. But I just think waiting for the top level of promotion or wherever venues to book artists that we wanted to see, I don't see it. And I think a lot of people agree with me on that. We might see it in Leeds, in Nottingham, in other cities, Manchester, always. And there's probably some envy from my side and some frustration. But what I love is that people in Sheffield will just think, right, you know what then, I'm going to do it myself because I'm not waiting around any longer.
Yeah.
And I love that. And you are that kind of, I see you as that kind of person. Like, you will just make things happen. You'll just do it. Like when your old studio, well, the issue with that and then you moving in here, I mean, people might not know, but you basically built all of this from scratch. And
practically,
which is pretty crazy to me. I can't even imagine that. I mean, I can barely put up a flat pack table without having to watch a YouTube tutorial. Your mentality definitely fits in with the rest of the city, for sure. But I suppose you might not have felt like you've been integrated as such with the nightlife, or... Yeah. I just wondered if you could just talk about that a little bit.
I was listening to a podcast with Martin Ware, the Human League, etc. They said people in Sheffield do stuff and then come up with the reason for it after. So they just come up with a fanzine or something, and then they go, we'll work out why we did it in the first place after. Don't worry about that. And that's a lot of the stuff I've done has come from that kind of angle. From being 13, 14, you picked your tribe at school. You were either, in my era, you were an indie kid, R&B, UK garage grime. and your haircut, your clothes, all reflected it. I look at a student now, and I couldn't tell you what music they're into, where they like to hang out, because they're just extracting and they're eclectic across everything they do, which is amazing because I'm eclectic and I've picked up loads of young fans locally when I've done gigs because they're just into a bit of, into a bit of this and into a bit of that, and that's all down to like the internet and like to Spotify, because they don't buy an album and listen to it back to front. They just put stuff on shuffle. So there's obviously major negatives to it, but see, I benefit from it that way. But being 38, this youthful enthusiasm that I had when I were 18, 19, I don't have it now. So it's like the frustration is almost feel like Yarni exists at the wrong time, as in it should have existed 25 years ago. However, the new younger audience are more aligned with me than I've ever had in Sheffield. So it's like a weird like in-between state. And yeah, a lot of the frustrations I've got with Sheffield stem from, so when I were 18, 19, me and my three best mates used to be in a band called The Field, and we'd play at various venues around Sheffield, did some decent gigs. We got like tarnished with a football hooligan band, and we came up around the same time as the Arctic Monkeys just came and just like swept in and took everything over. When I had my most enthusiastic years, I were putting all my energy into something that were never going to work. If I had what I've got now then, that enthusiasm, then I reckon I'd be further on in my career, especially, let's say, locally, definitely.
It's interesting that, because on the way that I see it on the flip side is that your absence from maybe being so involved in, you know, the nightlife and things like that, and the wealth of experience you've gained in this studio, for you to now think, you know what, I've learnt all this, I'm going to go back to basics and start a band and go out there. It feels like a really cool thing, because I think you've got time to reflect, and then you think, right, I'm going to actually now just go and do something.
Yeah.
If we're looking forward from your album now, what's next? What do you do next? Obviously, we need to release it first, so that'll be important. But when you come out, have you got any expectations or preconceptions of how that will lead on to anything new project-wise, or where that will take you, or what you'd like to do with it?
No, I think now, my focus now, obviously we're recording this before the album's out, you go to watch this is going to sound ridiculous, proper live jazz, and everybody has their little solo section, and it's a performance within a performance. Well, an album's an album, but within the album, I've got all these stories to tell, because all of these different people that are involved in it. So I want to section everything off and try and tell that story and convince people of that, because then that might give birth to other things. So like I've worked with some amazing singers. If that picks up traction, then that might give birth to new directions to explore, because you know this is the thing for me. You never know what's going to work. It's just trial and error and just experiment and keep moving forward, rather than, like I say, historically I'd say to myself, I'm just going to do this. I don't care what everybody else thinks. Now it's like looking, seeing what's working and trying to tweak it, like with these record recommendation videos.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I was just posting pictures of records. Nobody cared. Suddenly I start talking about them. I tweak this. It's the same message. Suddenly I'm on camera talking about them and people are interested. It's just tweaking, seeing what works, see what doesn't, and using that to pivot forward. That's it, really. I used to look at Andrew Weatherall, who used to be pigeonholed, and he'd go, no, I'm going to go and do some rockabilly.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll do that, but I didn't have the profile that he's got. So maybe, because I look at people like Floating Points, his output's wildly eclectic, you know.
Great example, yeah.
But what I've realised is you can't do that until you build up who you are, and then you can go, right, I'm going to do whatever I want, because you've built up that loyal tribe. Now, I did that too prematurely, and the hope is, the ambition is to get not to their levels, but to a level where you've got a tribe that believes in everything that I'm trying to do. And I've got a gang of people that like literally buy everything I do, support everything, constantly message me. It's just a case of convincing more people, you know. That's the ambition, you know, yeah.
Of course.